Alright, a quick explanation as to the lateness of this video, and it's simple. I just thought I already uploaded it. Apparently I didn't even finish editing it. I thought it was uploaded, man. I must have dreamt it or something. So anyway, this is the video. Just let me know what you think about it. I'm out. When the hustle and bustle of the main halls at Gamescom become too much for you, when you need to get away from the dig measuring contest between AAA publishers, or when you just want to play some goddamn video games without having to wait 4 hours, you can always go to the indie area and check out some indie goodness, which is what I did. Every year on the last day of Gamescom, I go and experience games made by small teams, chat with the developers there who are willing to answer every question you have, take notes of your suggestions, and play some criminally overlooked games. With this video, I hope to showcase some games that might never get into the limelight. And who knows, maybe one of these might become your next favorite. We're starting this one off with a weird one. It's called What the Golf, and it's a golf game, as you might expect. You use the control stick to aim and press A and hold it and then let go, or press A again, I don't remember exactly, to hit the ball and launch it far. But the longer you play the game and the more holes you complete, the more you realize this is just a wacky, insane, goofy game. Pretty much as soon as, like, let's say 5 holes, where you put the ball into the hole, it start getting crazy. Put the golf club in the hole, put the kitties in the hole, put the hole in the ball, and it just gets crazier and crazier. I got to a point where it started parodying Super Hot, and all in the meantime the 2 developers were behind me, just pretending to be visitors and talking about the game. Like, they said something along the lines of it being a sequel to Gone Home, and the guys are crazy, and the game is as well, so you might want to keep an eye out for this one. It doesn't seem like it offers too much in terms of content, but for the right price, this is certainly one you want to pick up. Like, one of those goofy little games you pick up and show your friends and just have a good afternoon with, a good day with. Coming straight at you from New Zealand, from your boys, the Wild Boys, it's Atone. Now, for those of you who have played God of War and had just gotten a taste of the Norse mythology, or for those of you who are really down with Norse mythology, which I am, this one might be one you want to check out. Since God of War 5 is still some ways off, enjoy this one. It's set in the Norse setting, in the Norse mythology setting, and you walk around and you solve some really interesting and intelligent puzzles. While I was there, apparently one of the puzzles wasn't that clear, but that was mainly because of the demo. But the other puzzle I did was a really smart and really intelligent and fun puzzle. Another thing that I want to talk about is the writing. The writing in this game is top fucking notch. Every bit of dialogue and text that was there was really engaging and really well written. Like, impressively well written. And then last part, which was a bit more controversial, was the combat, which I didn't have a problem with. Apparently a lot of people had a problem with. Apparently the developers are thinking about maybe adding an optional non-combat mode or something, but they're not sure. Anyway, the combat is a rhythm game, and you fight to the rhythm of some sick synthwave, so fucking baller. It was kind of difficult at the beginning, but I got into it. But yeah, no, it's gonna be an interesting game no matter what. This is certainly one I'm gonna check out. Now this one as well, I didn't have the chance to play, and I saw very little of it, but it looked really neat, so I want to talk about it. It's called Deliver Us the Moon, and it's a third-person adventure. Most of these games usually are in first person, and this game has a bit of first person, but like I'm glad to see a game that's a puzzle game that's not just like in first person and not that reminiscent of like Portal or something. I like the design and the look of things. Very wide, very straight, very aesthetically pleasing, very minimalistic. And you go around with a gun shooting stuff, but not aliens or enemies, shooting objects and making them light up and trying to solve puzzles. I don't really know what's going on, but I like the look of it, and I really want to give it a shot when it comes out. It's going to be coming out real soon this month, so I'll try and check it out if I can. And if you got the space crazies, I know you will too. This one is out there for all you speedrunners. It's called Lonely Mountains Downhill. If you want to compare it to something, you can kind of compare it to Trials in that you kind of need, it's physics based on a bike, and if you crash, you have to start from the checkpoint. But it's a bit more serene, yet still a lot more comical. I really like the color palette they use, and the art style is very nice. It's simultaneously a chill game, but also one that's prone to speedrunning, trying to get as fast from the top to the bottom of the mountain by using shortcuts, by trying to land on their specific spots, doing it as fast as you can. It's an absolute hoot to play, and it's definitely going to be one of those games you want to check out if you're into speedrunning or like watching speedruns, because this is one of those games where you're going to see some sick shit happening. Guaranteed. Now this is another one I didn't get to play, but I looked at, and holy damn, this looks like it's going to be another one of those special ones. It's called Lost Ember, and I didn't see that much of the gameplay itself. I just saw you playing around as a wolf. First off, the game looks absolutely gorgeous, really beautiful, and yeah, it looked very serene. I'm not really sure what you do in the game, and I also remember seeing you play as a different animal, but I'm not 100% sure about that. Yeah, no, quick update, you definitely play as different animals. I remember you play as boids. I remember seeing a boid. There's like a ton of animals. That's the entire thing of the game, actually. Also fish. You can play as goddamn fish. How neat is that? Again, it's just a pretty looking game, and you running around as a wolf, what's better than that? Like I said, I don't really know what's going on or what the main gameplay loop of this game is, but like based on its style alone, it's one of those games you might want to keep an eye out for. Coming this spring 2019, get ready to unleash your inner persona! Ever since From Software was done with Dark Souls 3, I was anticipantly waiting for their sci-fi Dark Souls, and that never happened, at least not yet. They've announced Sekiro, which looks great, and in the meantime we've got The Surge, and The Surge 2 is coming up by the guys who did Lords of the Fallen. So we kind of have our sci-fi Dark Souls, but here's one that's trying to compete with that. It's called The Dolmen. Or at least I think it's pronounced The Dolmen. Dolmen? I don't know. It's Souls-like game set in the future, but it's not the traditional future like The Surge looks. Compare it a bit more to the clean white Mass Effect future with the crazy alien planets, but with a bit more of a horror aesthetic, of course. There's also heavy third-person shooter elements. Now honestly, from what I've seen at this point in time, it looks like it's got some jank going on, but some jank has never kept me from playing a game, and sometimes some jank might be good for a game. Remember, the first Witcher was jank as fuck, and look where that series is now. When people will see this one for the first time, they will probably compare it to the critical indie darling from a few years ago called The Witness. And that's certainly not a bad comparison, considering Sojourn is a first-person puzzle game, but don't just write it off as a The Witness clone. Certainly not. It's anything but that. Honestly, it could survive on its style alone. It looks really pretty. Nice colors, nice graphical design, and aesthetics are very interesting and unique. A lot of it seems to be focused around shifting dimensions and trying to figure out how to get from point A to B while shifting and using that shift to your advantage. I wish I could say a bit more about it, but sadly, again, due to time constraints, I didn't have the opportunity to play it. For those of you who don't have enough with The Witness or want some more Myst-esque games, this one might certainly be one to check out. Then there was a poppin' and locking Vectronom, a very simplistic and very stylish looking rhythm game. You play as a little cube and you can go any direction you want. Your only goal is to get from point A to B, and you can do that by hopping around. And you do that to the rhythm of the beat, and it's incredibly fun, incredibly stylish with amazing music, really appealing game. And certainly not easy as well. It's quite the challenge. I died quite a few times. Like, the first level was like fairly easy, and I said, come on, give me something difficult. And they gave me something difficult, and I was like, Alright, this is difficult, but it was still very fun to do. This might be one of those games that would be very great on mobile phones. I'm not saying that it's fit as a mobile game only. I think you can enjoy it as a PC game as well or something. But this is one of those you want to play on the crapper, for sure. Just put in your headphones and listen to some sick beats. Try to hop to the rhythm of the beat. Now, What the Golf was weird, but this one really takes the cake. It's called Felix the Reaper, and I didn't play it, but only on accounts of what I've seen, it really deserved your attention, as it grabbed mine. You play as Felix the Reaper, and you dance. I don't really, like I said, I don't really know what's going on, but its style and its visuals and its weirdness is interesting enough for it to warrant a look in the future. As far as I understand, it's a puzzle game where you dance across the map and try to kill fools because you're the Reaper and you dance. Yeah, this game's fucking weird, dude. I like it. With the good also comes the bad, and I've played a lot of games, and this certainly was one of the bad ones. This was Velocity Rage, a racing game with combat elements, a combat racing game, similar to, let's say, something like Split Second or Blur. But the problem was that the racing didn't really feel that well. It just doesn't feel there. It doesn't feel good to play. And it can be fixed, but I'm very doubtful that it will actually happen. Again, if it does, I'm certainly going to give it a chance, but as of now, I'm not too faithful in it. Another thing, which I don't know if I actively dislike or is okay, is the weapon system, which is a rotational system. Players start with 3 weapons. When they use one of the weapons, it gets replaced with the next weapon in supposedly like kind of a card deck. So weapons are in rotation, you don't pick weapons up. It's kind of weird, and I don't know what to think of that part, but honestly, even if that part turns out to be great, the driving itself doesn't feel good, so if they don't fix that, then what's the point? So I talked about the games I saw and played, but there's one more game left, and that was the one that made the biggest impression on me, the game that I'm most excited about to release. That's not a AAA, but an indie game, and that's Star Renegades. Now, this game is developed by Massive Damage Incorporated, some guys at the main capital of video games, Canada. Let's get one thing off straight. The fucking art style is divine. It looks beautiful. The pixel art is amazing, and the designs themselves are rock fucking solid. So Star Renegades is an RPG, a roguelite RPG as the studio themselves calls it. There's a lot of elements to it, but basically at one point you get on a map and you move to certain spots. And every time you move to a spot, you might come across an event, which is like, oh, you came across a computer that gives you coordinates to some good shit. But if you try to hack it, there's a chance some enemies might show up. So there's this risk-reward system going on. And eventually when you get to a certain spot, again, you'll get attacked, and then you get in a straightforward turn-based RPG battle. The game has a lot of system and mechanics going on. First off, when a character dies, they're dead. You need to hire new dudes to help you. Enemies and friends have both a life bar and an energy bar. So you gotta be like, oh, do I take off armor? Do I take off damage? Do I defend? Do I do this? Do I do that? Like, it's legit a deep RPG. Another thing the developers talk to me about is once your entire crew dies or you get to the end of the game, you're gonna start a new cycle. So it's basically like, hey, this generation fought against these evil dudes and they failed, and then the evil dudes ruled, and now there's a new generation. Or they won and there was peace for that much time, and then it just keeps going and keeps going. So there's no quote-unquote end. There is an end, but after that you can do it all over again, try to do it better, try to do it faster, try to do it stronger. The developers also talked about wanting to implement a Fire Emblem-esque system where if your 2 dudes, your 2 units fight with each other enough, they get a certain affinity. There is, as far as I know, there's no real like conversation option, but the more you fight with your units, the more they get affinity, and at which point they might have an offspring which has certain perks or certain abilities of both the parents. Another thing they talked about is that in the bottom of the screen you can see the turn timer, the timeline of when attacks are gonna happen. And weirdly enough, it works, but weirdly enough, this game just spells it out entirely. Like it's saying, this dude is gonna attack with this attack on this dude. So you immediately know what you're gonna get and what's gonna happen, which is something I really haven't seen that much in RPGs, but it works. In this case, it really works because it allows you to prepare for attacks, and considering the game isn't that easy, yeah, you need it. When I was playing, I was trying to avoid an enemy by walking from one point to the map to another, like keep going back and forth. And I did that a bit too much, and apparently that alerted, or my time ran out, and there suddenly were like super units on the map. I totally got obliterated 2 times. Despite that, I still came back for more. I asked to play the demo again and said, hey, this time I'm gonna do better because this game really looks cool. So yeah, that's Star Renegades. That's the game at Gamescom 2018, the indie game that impressed me the most. This is the game I'm most excited about, and this is the game I implore you the most to check out. But please don't ignore any of the other games I've talked about. They really deserve you giving them a look. And who knows, like I said, maybe one of these games becomes your next favorite. I hope this video wasn't too much of a mess and people get some interesting stuff out of it. If not, I'll see what I'll do in the future, and I'll try to improve upon this format. But I really do think it's important to show off a lot of indie games that are there. Enough people talk about the AAA stuff that's coming out. Enough people have covered Devil May Cry and Spider-Man and Smash Brothers. But the indie games there do deserve the attention, because a lot of them are just goddamn amazing. And they get overlooked, which is just such a fucking shame. So one last time, if you see any of the games that appeal to you in any way, shape, or form, go check them out. Go see what they're about, go see what you can do, and please spread the word about these games. I'll see you guys next year.